Members, it is appointed time and we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. Item 1, information paper issued since last meeting. Since the previous meeting, no information paper has been issued. Item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. The next regular meeting of the panel is scheduled to take place at 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday, 7th of July. The Security Bureau has proposed 2 items for discussion. First, improving the laws of the sexual offences in Hong Kong. That's item 1 on the list of outstanding items for discussion. 2, reports on the work of Customs and Excise Department as the Vice Chairperson for the Asia-Pacific region of the World Customs Organization 2024-6. Do members have any views concerning the proposed items for discussion? Thank you. Item 3, youth development work of the Security Bureau and its departments. We will now invite the government officials to join us. Good afternoon, Secretary. We welcome the Secretary for Security, Mr. Chris Tang, and his team for attending today's meeting. In a moment's time, I will invite the Secretary to walk us through the paper briefly. Members who would like to ask a question, please press the button. Mr. Chris Tang, you have the floor. Chairman, today we are briefing members on the youth development work of the Security Bureau and the Discipline and Auxiliary Services Departments. Currently, all Discipline and Auxiliary Services Departments have their own youth uniformed groups. The Security Bureau has been taking forward the Security Bureau Youth Uniform Group Leaders Forum, tailor-made for elite members of youth uniform groups of the services, and also the Project Lighthouse for non-Chinese speaking students. The services are dedicated to develop the positive thinking, patriotic sentiments, law-abiding and national security awareness, and discipline and team spirit through community services and adventure and leadership training to prepare our youth to contribute to the country and Hong Kong. Now, one of the major work of our youth development work is to organize mainland and international exchange activities for our youth to develop an exchange mechanism. We have organized more than 100 exchange tours for our youth, involving over 2,800 youth members to various cities in the mainland. We have developed partnership with different organizations in the mainland. We have also organized person-to-person exchange opportunities for our youth in the mainland to strengthen the friendship between youth of the 2 places. And also this year, we will also organize international exchange tours to the Belt and Road countries or regions so as to foster young people's understanding of the national strategies and the international situation and broaden their horizon. We will also encourage young people to tell good stories of Hong Kong in their own language and also put into place youth international perspective. At the same time, we are enhancing the national security awareness of the youth. Now, we have launched the Andy and Bear Kinderfest School Tour, where volunteers from our Leaders Forum have conducted workshops themed around national security comics, Andy and Security Bear, in various kindergartens across the territory. So far, they have disseminated this message to over 3,000 kindergarten teachers and students. The youth volunteers have learned how to shoulder the mission to promote national security. In nurturing leadership and positive thinking, the Security Bureau and our forces have regularly organized leadership and adventure training, as well as other volunteer activities. The uniform youth groups also have an ascension ladder so that well-performing members can become leaders in the groups. We are pleased to see that many young people have developed leadership and multidisciplinary skills which are recognized by society. They have represented Hong Kong in attending many international activities. That includes the United Nations Office in Drugs and Crime Youth Forum in Vienna, the Voices of the Future program of the APEC, as well as the Boao Forum for Asia Annual Conference. Our leaders have also won numerous awards in international competitions. Life planning is also important for our youth. The services have been actively promoting life planning education to youth by organizing internship places for young people to help them understand better the work of the forces. The services have also provided internship opportunities across different sectors to help them understand the developments of different industries. Over the past 5 years, more than 130 members have joined the auxiliary services. Many of them have also become administrative officers. As well as ICAC members, and also many of them have joined the field of finance and other professions to contribute to society. In terms of support for EM youth, we have been supporting the EM youth to join our uniform groups. We have also organized inclusivity programs to help them integrate into society and develop positive thinking. Some services have also established inclusion team for EMs to help them join the forces in the future. So far, through these inclusion programs, we have recruited more than 100 EM individuals to join our services. Now, to expand the reach of our youth work, the youth uniform groups have been recruiting members through a diverse approach. They have been collaborating with the Education Bureau, primary and secondary schools, as well as the tertiary industry to enhance their reach. So far, the active numbers of all uniform groups has exceeded 13,000, an increase of 50% compared with 2003. And also the cadet and also the government flying service has also started a uniform group. That's the HKACC. Now, after the establishment of the HKACC, more support has been given to the members. Now, we have also identified a new site for the GFS to establish a HKACC headquarters in Wan Chai. It has been commissioned in March 2025, which marked a new milestone for the development of the HKACC. In the future, we will continue to coordinate our uniform groups to develop positive thinking, leadership skill, as well as patriotic values to help them grow into a new generation with a sense of commitment, aspirations, and willingness to serve Hong Kong and the country. We will be pleased to listen to members' views. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chris Tang. Now it is the members' time to speak. These are the members: Ms. Carmen Kan, Mr. Gary Chen, Mr. Eric Yip, Andrew Fan, Dominic Lee, Brave Chen, Lau Ka Keung, Chris Ip, Ken Wong, Perry Yu, Dennis Leung, and Mr. Thomas So. 12 members are on the list. Each will have 4 minutes, questions and answers included. Ms. Carmen Kan. Thank you, Chairman. The first question is on national security education and also the National Security Youth Ambassador Program. Now, more than 100 National Security Youth Ambassadors have been appointed to disseminate the message of national security education in schools. Now, I support that program. It would also be great if we have rule of law ambassadors. Now, are there mentors to provide continuous support to these ambassadors? Now, according to the paper, these ambassadors will disseminate the message of national security on a daily basis. What if they require support? Second, there are 8 uniformed youth groups under the forces and the services. There are some 360 youth members who have joined the government's through these channels. I think this is a great source of talent for recruitment for the civil service. Now for the police force, and there's been a 17.4% vacancy in the force. So can we encourage more uniform group members to join the police force? Secretary, thank you. So far there are 100 youth group members who have joined the program of National Security Youth Ambassador. We do provide training for these leaders, including national security and also the holistic views on national security. They provide help for us on different occasions. For example, acting as docents in the National Security Exhibition Gallery. Now, after the first batch of National Security Youth Ambassadors, we will continue to train up more ambassadors to help with our work. Now, so far, some 360 youth members have joined the civil service. Among them, 120 have joined the disciplinary services. More accurately, more than 130 of them have joined the civil service. Among them, 120 have joined the police force. In addition, there are some 200 youth members who have become auxiliary police. The exact number is 230. Now, 120 of them have joined the disciplinary services, and most of them have joined the police force because we have more vacancy there. Now, the 200 members who have joined the auxiliary police force, many of them have joined the police force formally afterwards. So besides nurturing positive values and leadership skills in youth members, it is also a mission to train up more talents for the civil service. Now, my first question was on whether there are mentors for the ambassadors. Yes, there are. Of course, the Security Bureau is responsible for coordinating the program along with the HYAB. Now, the mentors are figures from the community, including retired police officers as well as other prominent figures, including CPPCC members. Next, Mr. Gary Chen. Chairman, I recognize the youth development work of the Security Bureau and the forces. Now, according to the report, these uniformed youth groups have nurtured many upright as well as responsible youth for the community. Now, the GFS has established the HKACC and also Uniform Group, and also a venue has been located for the GFS as the headquarters of the academy. So that's something I have been following up on. It hasn't been done over 3 terms of government. It's only with Mr. Chris Tang's help that the GFS is able to find a venue to train up more flying talents. So on behalf of the GFS as well as the HACC, I thank the Secretary as well as the government officials. Second, according to my understanding, disciplinary services are using their internal resources for youth development work. I wonder if that's still the case. If that is so, can the Secretary ask for more resources from the Financial Secretary on behalf of the disciplinary services? Youth work requires financial and human resources. And also, Mr. Chris Tang has said there are services for non-Chinese speaking young people. More than 700 EM youth have joined uniform groups in the past few years. But I think there's room to attract more EM youth to these groups. So can we give more opportunities to non-Chinese speaking youth? Now, after joining the uniformed youth groups, there is a much higher likelihood for the members to join the forces.
Mr. Tang, thank you. I'd like to thank the HYAB first. They have been laying the foundation, and this is why very swiftly we can help the Hong Kong ACC to secure a space for the headquarters. Take police as an example. They have a larger staff size. There are also full-time police officers who help with the youth development work. For other discipline services, they ask contract staff members as well as staff members on PSCC terms to work on it. We are carrying out a review of the manpower required. If need be, we will deploy more manpower resources to the discipline services in order not to affect their frontline work. Regarding ethnic minorities, I go along with members. We definitely should continue to work on this front. We need to enhance our efforts. Over 120 staff members have joined the government through the scheme. We can see the effectiveness of these schemes. Language, handwriting, the writing ability of the Chinese characters also helps a lot. This is not only beneficial to joining the government, but it also helps a lot in their daily lives. That is why we'll continue to work on this front. Thank you. Mr. Eric Yim, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of the Security Bureau. They have been making a lot of efforts on youth development work. Mr. Gary Chen asked the question that I wanted to ask. Hong Kong has more and more exchanges with the world. We need to attract more places where people do not speak English to come to Hong Kong. We need to enhance the manpower of the Hong Kong police force. There should be an increase in the number of police officers. At present, there are 6 discipline services. They provide about 100 internship places. I'd like to ask the administration whether this figure could further be increased. More and more young people are willing to join the Hong Kong police force. That is why we need to increase the number of places of internship in order to allow more young people to take part in it. Is there any room for us to increase the number? There are more and more mainland young people who come to Hong Kong to study. And before they have permanent residency, they cannot join the government upon graduation. But what about internship? Is it possible for us to allow university students to join the internship schemes in Hong Kong so after they have obtained permanent residency, they can join the police force? Mr. Yim, just now you referred to internship. Do you mean really internship of a government post or participating in youth activities? Mr. Yim, well, in the private sector, in different enterprises, there is a certain number of places for university students to take part in internship schemes. So I'd like to know whether university graduates will have opportunities to work at the Hong Kong Police Force for, say, a month or 2 months. This will give them a better understanding of the operation of the force. So upon obtaining permanent residency, they can probably join the Hong Kong Police Force. Thank you. I'd like to speak on ethnic minorities first. Within the force, at present, we have about 300 police officers who are ethnic minorities. They work in different units. About 170 are actually working in the police force. In Yuen Long, Yau Tsim Mong, there are many ethnic minorities living in this area. If we have police officers who speak that language, this will help us a lot in our frontline work. Next, I'd like to turn to the internship schemes of different disciplined services. As I mentioned, the total number is about 100. Where resources allow, we hope to increase the number of places as well. In addition to internship at the Hong Kong Police Force, there are dozens of different posts in different industries. Say we have tech firms, industrial companies, commercial companies. There are different internship places for these university graduates. Some are even out of Hong Kong, say in Palace Museum, in the CAS, in Shenzhen, Shanghai. There are different tech firms that offer internship places for young people in Hong Kong with our arrangements. These are indeed valuable experience to these young people. What about those coming from outside Hong Kong? What if they haven't yet got permanent residency? Owing to visa issues, they come to Hong Kong as a student and they cannot work in Hong Kong, including internship. But we have job shadowing projects in Hong Kong. They have mentors, and our colleagues will guide them in the job shadowing projects. We work with Shenzhen and Macau. There are university students from Shenzhen, and they come to Hong Kong to take up different posts in various organizations in order to get a better understanding of the operation of different organizations in Hong Kong. Thank you. Mr. Andrew Fan. Thank you. I'm involved in organizing activities for national education or national security education in Project Yijin Center. I'm glad to see the work of the Security Bureau. They have made a lot of efforts in relation to national security, life planning, ethnic minorities, young people support. We have seen great results. Many KPIs have been met. There's about an increase of 50% in the number of active members of disciplined services. In paragraphs 28 and 29 of the papers, I'd like to ask about these two paragraphs. I'd like to know how many schools have teams for young people. I'd like to know how we can better attract young people to join our scheme. Just now, Mr. Eric Kim and Mr. Gary Chen asked this question, but I'd like to follow up on it. Just now, the Secretary said that there will be a gradual increase in the number, but I'd like to know whether there will be any promotions conducted by ethnic minorities officers in order to enhance the effectiveness of the publicity programs conducted in campuses. Thank you. Mr. Tang. Regarding Junior Police Call JPC, it is a school-based activity. I don't have any breakdown of the number of schools and students, but at primary schools, there are a total of 54,000 JPC members. For secondary, 80,000, and for post-secondary institutions, about 17,000. And these are the figures of students. There are many ways to join these uniform groups. They can join through their schools, but there are other ways as well. We have booths, we have promotional activities, and we encourage young people to join us. There is also online recruitment. Recommendations among members are very important as well. Community centers, NGOs. There's indeed a wide range of ways to join these uniform groups. In addition to ethnic minorities, we have the Project Lighthouse. We directly engage with schools with ethnic minorities. We attract these ethnic minority students to join our schemes. In addition to language training, we help them to have a better understanding of our discipline services. We also provide different experiences for them. They may not have a lot of opportunities to go to the Chinese mainland. We have provided a new type of identity documents for these students to go back to the Chinese mainland. This way, they have a better grasp of national development. We also help them to know more about what is happening in Hong Kong. We want to adopt different methods in order to help them have a better understanding of Hong Kong. Thank you. Mr. Dominic Lee, thank you. I'd like to thank the Security Bureau as well as its departments. Under the leadership of Mr. Tang, a lot of work on youth development has been conducted. These guide young people in the correct direction. Dr. Lai joined the recent aeronautical mission. This is the first payload specialist in Hong Kong ever. Some government officials went to the satellite launch center to witness this historic moment. I'd like to know whether the Secretary will arrange for opportunities for Dr. Lai to have sharing sessions with young people in Hong Kong. Is it possible to have video conferencing where Dr. Lai chats with young people in Hong Kong? After Dr. Lai returns to Hong Kong, will we arrange for sessions, say greet and meet? Hong Kong ACC is in the area of civil aviation. It doesn't cover aeronautical, aerospace, or even rockets. In the future, is it possible to cover these areas so that young people in Hong Kong will realize dreams in these areas as well? Thank you. Dr. Lai, the first payload specialist in Hong Kong, is the pride of Hong Kong. She is the superintendent of police. This is hugely beneficial to our youth development work. Young people know as long as they have a dream, they can realize it. We have aeronautical and aerospace courses in the Hong Kong ACC. Dr. Lai was chosen to be in the mission last year or a few years ago. We went to Hainan to visit the rocket launch base together with the Undersecretary as well as other colleagues from the youth uniform groups. We witnessed this very important historical moment. In addition to going to the base in the Chinese mainland, some went to the aerospace center in Zhuhai. Some went to the headquarters of Southern Airlines, Aeronautical Supercomputing Center, as well as other centers. They went there for a visit. There was also an exchange group. They went to the CAS as well. They went to the Museum of Satellite as well as other rockets. This is our work on aerospace and aeronautical. The government flying services in Hong Kong has also taken part in it. It has set up the GFS Aviation Inspiration International Academy. It joins hands with different universities in Hong Kong to organize joint courses. We want to trigger the interest of young people so that they will probably become pilots in the future. Civil aviation is closely related to aerospace. We want to impart aerospace or aeronautical knowledge into students so that we can further promote aerospace activities. We can also attract more young people to join our groups. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Brave Chen. Thank you, Chairman. I also thank the Secretary and also the head of our uniformed youth groups. When I was a student, I was a member of the Junior Police Corps and also the Civil Aid Service. It helps me a lot in terms of nurturing my sense of responsibility for society. So I support allocating more resources for these groups. Now, many targets have been achieved, and that's great. And I like the Leaders Forum. The Leaders Forum's members have been assigned to various study tours in the mainland and also to represent Hong Kong in UN and also APEC activities. So for those elite members of the forum, are they being recruited as mentors for new members of the youth groups? I think we can invite well-performing members who have successfully joined the forces to share the experience with the younger members in the groups. Now, resources are a concern. So, is there a mechanism to flexibly deploy venues for, say, food drills and other activities so that these resources are shared among different uniformed groups, and that would make the system more efficient? I'm pleased to learn that Mr. Brave Chen is my junior because I was the member of the first cohort of JPC. I'm pleased to know that. Yes, we have a leaders forum comprising the elite members of the uniformed groups. Now, in the second cohort, we have already been working with the Shenzhen University and also other disciplinary services in the mainland to arrange for study tours in other cities in the GPA as well as other mainland cities for greater exposure. At the beginning of every year, we would select elite members from thousands of uniform group members to conduct thematic studies. We also thank the Shenzhen University for assigning lecturers to lead those study tours. And also some elite members have been assigned to represent Hong Kong in the United States, in Peru and Vienna. Now, to be precise, those members have been selected to represent our country among thousands of competitors in the mainland to represent the country to speak in the UN. Now, that member has secured a position as an administrative officer in the government. Now, so those graduates have organized a mentors club to keep in touch with the younger members of the groups. So many of them have become professionals, including lawyers, teachers, and marketing personnel. So it's great to have a group of young people who are positive-minded to pursue growth in various sectors of community. Next, Mr. Lau Ka-keung. Thank you, Chairman. The Security Bureau and also the 8 disciplinary and auxiliary services have been developing patriotism, law-abiding, and national security awareness positive thinking and also team spirit in youth. I recognize the direction. Now, these are my questions. Paragraph 6 mentioned that the uniform groups have fully adopted Chinese-style foot drills and flag-raising ceremonies. So, at present, how many primary and secondary schools have these uniformed youth groups visited to disseminate the knowledge and skills on Chinese-style foot drills and flag raising? And are there any goals to step up their efforts on this front? Now, over the past 5 years, there were 360 youth group members who have joined the forces or other civil service posts after graduation. So can the Secretary share with us how many new recruits in the civil service have joined these uniform youth groups before coming to the post? What's the percentage? And can we conduct a career survey on the uniform group members and provide more flexible recruitment arrangements for those who are minded to join disciplinary services? Maybe they can be subject to a less stringent set of academic requirements. Thank you. First, on Chinese foot drills and flag-raising ceremonies. This is more than training on discipline. It is about understanding the nation. The trainees would first have to attend a training session to understand what foot drills and training mean. This is a very good form of national identity education. So 3 services, including the police force, the fire services, and the civil aid services, which would reach into schools to teach Chinese-style foot drills and flag-raising ceremonies, and also help establish the relevant teams in schools. Now, we have visited more than 370 schools, and we have taught more than 12,000 primary and secondary school students about Chinese-style foot drills and flag raising. So there are more work to be done. First of all, we would enhance training for our own mentors. We want to equip our members better to teach students how to perform foot drills and flag raising ceremonies. And also there would be cross-disciplinary foot drill and flag raising competitions to enhance the skill level through competition. And also we have set up guards of honor for flag raising as well. The CNED has already established such a guard corps. And during important festivities, including the 1st of July as well as the 1st of October, there are also flag-raising ceremonies to be performed by our group members. Mr. Chris Ip, thank you. Paragraph 13 is about the National Security Youth Ambassador Training Scheme. I admire the scheme a lot. The scheme would appoint young members to become ambassador to disseminate the message of national security, and that's great. Now, in 2025, 100 ambassadors have been trained up under this scheme. So how do they perform their duties? Are there any criterion on assessing the impact of this scheme? But there are only 100 ambassadors, and we have hundreds of thousands of primary and secondary school students in Hong Kong. The ratio is rather low. Now, if the scheme is a success, shouldn't the Security Bureau expand the scheme and recruit more youth ambassadors? or even expanded schemes reach to the tertiary institutions. Secretary. Now, I definitely agree that the number can be much more than 100, but we have to balance the usage of resources. We can't simply call someone a national security ambassador after 1 hour of training. There are standards. Now, some ambassador would be assigned to become docents at the National Security Exhibition Gallery. Those docents have to be able to handle a 1 hour tour without looking at the scripts, so they must undergo rigorous selection. And also there are different activities and exhibitions where these ambassadors would help out. It is our policy to deploy youth to disseminate the message to other youth in Hong Kong. So there are two factors to consider. First of all, resources required, and second, opportunities suitable for youth ambassadors to shine. Otherwise, it would be a waste of resources. So we would conduct a regular review on the number, but 100 is just the start. Thank you. Will you extend the reach of the program to universities? Now, actually, the ambassadors can be secondary school students or university students. And beside the uniformed youth groups, there are also graduates club. Who would become mentors of our youth groups. So we would disseminate information on national security on these platforms because that is part of our civil service examination. Next, Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you, Chairman. Our youth are Hong Kong's future. I admire the Security Bureau's work a lot. You are developing young people's patriotic sentiments, law-abiding awareness, as well as positive thinking. That's a job well done. Now, according to the paper, through leadership training programs, adventure, and also volunteer activities, you are developing the leadership skill as well as positive thinking of the members. And also, you are developing their civic responsibility as well as empathy through volunteer work. So in terms of activity design, training resources, as well as mentors, what is the standard? And also, is there any follow-up mechanism concerning the effectiveness of the programs? Secretary. Thank you. Different services organize various activities for the members, including leadership program, adventures, and also volunteer activities. So that depends on the services themselves. Now, there are dedicated colleagues in each force which have received the relevant training for specific themes like national security. We would engage professionals in the private sector to help us. And also we have an ascension letter for members. So since we are a uniformed service, members would be given accolades on their shoulders. So there are different assessment criteria, including their attitude, their performance, and their leadership skill. The accolades given to them will mean that they are playing a leadership role in the groups. And once they are appointed leaders, they will develop a greater sense of responsibility. Now, these activities are career-oriented. So we would keep counts of the number of awards given to our members. And also, many of our youth members have become representatives in different fields. And also, we would keep count of the number of youth members who have joined our forces in the government.
Any follow-up? No. Thank you. Next, Mr. Perry Yu. Thank you, Chairman. We can see the Security Bureau and its department's work on youth development efforts. Many young people have taken part in these schemes. They have the sense of discipline. I am also part of the Hong Kong Scouts Association. There are a total of 8 uniform groups under the Security Bureau, and there are also 11 and other groups under the HYAB. We have a total of 19 uniform groups. They work together from time to time, and they have frequent exchanges. This is indeed a special feature of Hong Kong. There have been many exchange activities between Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland. Are we looking at any two-way exchange tours between Hong Kong and the Chinese mainland? I'd like to ask about changes among the 8 groups. Well, I can see a dip in the number of JPC members, but regarding the Hong Kong ACC, comparing with the figure in 2023, there was a decrease of about 25%. As for the Hong Kong ACC, the age restriction is 11 to 20. I'd like to ask whether there is any special reason for the decrease in the number of members. Regarding the level of participation of members, there are a total of 13,500 members. The ratio is on the high side. I'd like to know how we can further enhance the level of participation among young members. Resources, manpower, all these matter. I'd like to ask the administration, what plans do you have? Thank you. Mr. Tang. Thank you. I'd like to speak on Hong Kong ACC. You pointed to a dip in the number of members. Hong Kong ACC was transferred from the HYAB to our purview, and we are in the middle of updating members. Some members were inactive members, and we have already made adjustments. These figures may show a dip on the surface, but the figures are actually similar to the previous numbers. It is just the method of calculation that is a little bit different. Regarding active members, the level of participation is on the lower side for the Hong Kong Police Force. However, for the other discipline services, there are over 40% active members. This is indeed quite good. Of course, we want to further attract even more young members to take part in these schemes. We want to have even more active young members. In parallel, we're reviewing whether our activities and events are appealing. Are they in line with the current trends? Like Mr. Dominic Lee said, Are we going to organize more activities on aerospace, on pickleball? Pickleball is all the rage now. For the aid and discipline and auxiliary services departments, we have frequent exchanges with the 11 uniform groups under the HYAB. We encourage them to take part in different competitions. We also have exchanges with the groups in the Chinese mainland. Any follow-up, Mr. Yu? No, thank you. Next, Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the youth development work in Hong Kong, we have seen a decrease in the number of people joining discipline services. We can not only train young people, but we can also provide more information to young people at an earlier stage so that they will consider joining discipline services. Regarding the 6 discipline and 2 auxiliary services departments, activities are very comprehensive. There are many details about these events. Is it possible to further review the contents of these activities? I'd like to focus on paragraph 31. That is on the level of participation. Some have joined probably just 2 events. Can you show us any statistics? What is the total number of activities you have conducted in the past 12 months? How many times have members taken part in these events? We are not critiquing the work of the Security Bureau. Instead, what I mean is that these figures can further help departments to deepen these activities. This way, they can hold even better activities. Young people in these uniform groups will have opportunities to have a better understanding of the work of these discipline services. This will incentivize them to join these discipline services when the time comes. Thank you. At present, we are still using the level of participation as statistics. We do not have a breakdown on the number of events that they have joined. We will go back and study whether this is possible. We have special teams to be responsible for youth development work. It is easy for us to identify dozens of active members where members have outstanding performance. These colleagues will identify the cream of the crop. We can identify the most active members in these uniform groups. As I mentioned, they can rise through the ranks within these uniform groups. We can give them more senior titles in order to reward them. We can even give them more responsibilities as a way of reward. Say national security mentors, we can identify more active members to take up these roles. Otherwise, less active members may not have sufficient time, and they may not have the sense of responsibility or mission to pick up these skills. This is exactly why we are identifying the most active members to take up these posts. Thank you, Dr. Thomas So. Thank you, Chairman. I thank and support the Security Bureau for the aid and discipline and auxiliary service departments. They have been taking forward youth development work. Their efforts are worth our recognition. I have 1 question and 2 suggestions. First of all, on Annex 2, I'd like to speak on JPC. They have over 150,000 members. As for other groups, they total about 40,000 to 50,000. Given the large difference, I understand there are many different factors behind this, but is it due to the difference in resources, or are there any other reasons? This is my question, and I have 2 more suggestions. The Secretary said that They recruit members through different avenues. It is important to have an official channel to recruit young members. We need to reach out to schools. We need to take the initiative to do so. In the past, schools asked us whether we would want to be a scout or whether we want to join the first aid team when we were still students. For members on the Fight Crimes Committee as well as the Fire Safety Committee, they can reach out to more uniformed groups. They can reach out to more young people to recruit more young members. These uniform groups share a common factor, that is, they are disciplined services. In summer vacations, parents ask their children to take part in military activities in military camps. You can pool your resources to organize a one-off summer vacation activity for these parents and children. These activities can provide an opportunity for young people to sample the experience of working at a disciplined service. This is actually a way to promote your aid in disciplined services, and I suggest that the administration can further take forward the work that you have been doing, which is already outstanding. This way, you can radiate your influence. Thank you. I'd like to talk about figures as first. For JPC, the age range is between 6 and 25. It covers the most members, and we have direct liaison with over 800 schools. We have a long history as well. I was a member as well, so you can tell how long the history is. We have a total of 30 units under the police force, and we can set up a JPC unit under each police unit, so it is not difficult to understand why the figure is on the high side. There are Fight Crimes Committee, there are Fire Safety Committee, and we will draw good reference from these committees. At summer vacations, we provide different military camps. Different discipline services have different features. For example, police officers tell you how to crack a case, how to handle cases on the spot. AMS teaches you first aid knowledge. Customs and Excise Departments is responsible for sharing knowledge about conducting searches. These are some of the examples. Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth Cott. Thank you. I appreciate the work of the Security Bureau on Youth Development. Your work has been outstanding. We do need to promote positive mindset, national security, patriotism, as well as team spirit. We need to focus on these values. They might not be trained at schools. At every school, there should be at least one uniform group for young people, and secondary school students should take part in at least one uniform group. Is it possible to do so? Is a lack of resources standing in the way? Is it possible for us to achieve this target? Young people are facing some risks, say drugs. This is why it is important to crack down on drugs. AI is all the rage now. There are many cybersecurity cases. I'd like to know how the Security Bureau and Discipline Services can make good use of the members of uniform groups in order to reach out to even more non-members of these uniform groups. They can make good use of peer influence in order to promote these positive values. We can help reduce cybercrimes, and we can also pass on the values of positive mindset. Thank you.
Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, we have studied the matter with the Education Bureau. Some 30% of schools have established their own uniformed services, not necessarily under the disciplinary services, but under the Home Affairs Bureau as well. Now, according to our judgment, it's better to encourage schools to establish their uniformed groups on a voluntary basis. Different schools excel in different areas. For example, some schools do better in music. Actually, many schools arrange for their students to join the uniform groups. It's just not a school-based effort. Actually, many school students are members of the JPC. Now, on enlisting help from youth members to disseminate anti-crime message, for example, anti-drug and anti-crime message, the contents of our activities also cover the law-abiding awareness as well as prevention of crime. All uniformed youth group members are tasked with prevention of crime as well as disseminating anti-crime messages. For example, anti-drug. Etomidate is the prevalent drug right now, so we are asking our young members to tell their friends to stay away from etomidate. And youth members would also help us to alert their friends not to fall into traps, including naked chats and other scams. Are there any other members who would like to speak? There being none, is there anything that the Secretary would like to add? No, thank you. In that case, thank you very much, Mr. Chris Tang and your team, for attending this item. Let's move on to the next item, item 4. Drug situation in Hong Kong in 2025 and anti-drug efforts of the government. We will now invite the government officials to come in. There is a legislative proposal attached to the item, so all LegCo members, even though you are not a panel member, are also invited to the discussion.
We
welcome the Commissioner for Narcotics, Ms. Zorina Wan, and other government officials for their attendance. In a moment's time, I will invite Ms. Zorina Wan to give us the PowerPoint presentation. Members who would like to speak, you may now press the Request to Speak button. Commissioner, ready when you are. Thank you, Chairman. The HKSAR government attaches importance to anti-drug efforts. So today, my team and I would like to report to the panel on 3 matters. First of all, the situation of drugs in Hong Kong. And second, the HKSAR government, as well as the Narcotic Division's anti-drug efforts. For the third matter, we would like to consult members' views on a legislative proposal to enhance our toolbox to combat drug. On the first part, drug situation in Hong Kong, the figures have been listed out in the paper. I would like to highlight several points. According to the Central Registry of Drug Abuse of the Security Bureau, the number of reported drug abuses has dropped by 38% from 2016 to 25. In 2025, the total number of reported drug abuses decreased by 2% compared with 2024. Concerning youth drug abuses, which are of more concern, in 2025, the number of reported young drug abusers aged under 21 has dropped to 698 from 734 in the previous year, a drop of 5%. Among them, there are very few new drug abusers. Concerning the types of reported drugs abused, in 2025, the most common drug abused was heroin, followed by cocaine and methamphetamine, or ice. Etomidate ranked the third. Now, concerning youth, etomidate has become the most common drug abused last year, followed by cannabis and cocaine. In last year, among the total number of reported drug abuses, 615 were reported to have used etomidate. Among them, 340 were young people, and there were 161 students. According to the record, the number of among the reported abusers of etomidate, the youngest person was aged 11, where the oldest one was 75. Now, the main reason for using etomidate was due to boredom, emotional distress, stress, or peer pressure. Concerning drug crimes, according to the figures provided by the law enforcement agencies, in 2025, the number of persons arrested has increased by 27% compared with 2024. For the same period, the number of young arrestees aged under 21 increased by 90%. It shows that the government has made greater efforts to combat drug-related crimes. Now, on the second part, the anti-drug strategies and efforts of the government. We have been striving to protect public health and security. So we have been exhausting all means to combat drug. That includes prevention policies. Second, rehabilitation and drug prevention services. 3, conducting research in relation to drugs. And 4, collaboration. And more importantly, 5, legislative work and then law enforcement work. I will go into details of each. Concerning prevention, education, and publicity, at the community level, as well as schools and family levels, we are taking forward our prevention programs. We have resorted to publicity, both online and offline, to drive the message deep in all scenarios. Now, as shown on the slide, these are offline advertisements. We would put up advertisements in areas with high footfall, including tram, minibus, as well as MTR stations. Now, last year, in February, after classifying etomidate as a kind of dangerous drug, there were a lot of channels through which we have been publicizing the message. We would like to raise awareness of the public against this new drug. Now, in March just past, we have launched a series of advertisements featuring our honorary anti-drug commissioner, Mr. Aaron Kwok, to raise the awareness of the public as well as show our determination to combat etomidate. Concerning online advertisements, we have been putting up announcements in public interest on popular apps, including bus apps and public transport apps. And during festivals including Christmas and Chinese New Year, we would put up social media posts to alert the public to stay away from drug during festivities. Now, concerning social media platforms frequented by young people, we put up anti-drug messages on, say, party room booking platforms and other popular websites. Now, we need to start young in terms of education. So this year, we have launched some parent-child anti-drug activities for young parents as well as kindergarten pupils. We would like to promote healthy lifestyle and enhance their resilience against drugs. Now, for example, we have put up flash mob booths in various locations. We have attracted some 6,000 attendees for these activities. In April and June, we have organized 6 parent-child yoga or Pilates workshops, attracting some 420 attendees. Now, according to our experience, through light-hearted and a soft-touch approach, we can achieve high effectiveness for anti-drug campaign. So this is the direction we will continue to follow. Now, the Action Committee Against Narcotics has been our important partner in our work against drug. Now, last year was the 60th anniversary of the establishment of the Action Committee, so we have held a series of events, including roaming exhibitions, large-scale TV programs, as well as a yearbook. Now, last year, we have held a cross-regional GBA anti-drug summit. We have made memorabilia so as to raise the awareness of the attendees. Now, we have also renovated the Jockey Club's anti-drug center. Now, the center provides docent activities as well as exhibitions. And more recently, we have been providing positive living and positive value workshops. There's also a dedicated session on etomidate. Now, since the reopening of the center in 2020, we have held more than 930 free docents and some 600 positive value workshops. In last year, we have received some 50,000 attendees to the center. So those were our collaboration with the Action Committee Against Narcotics. On the other hand, we have been encouraging and supporting different sectors in society to launch anti-drug programs through the Beat Drugs Fund. For example, we support society to organize anti-drug projects to reach out to high-risk groups. And also, we have been working with the 18 district fight crime committees and also the district offices to launch district-based programs to enhance the awareness against drug in the district. These have been very effective in terms of early prevention and identification. So besides promoting prevention, education, and publicity on a community level, schools have been our important partners. All along, we have been taking forward a number of measures in schools that includes the Healthy School Project. Now, last year, etomidate has been included in the voluntary drug testing program in schools to enhance students' awareness against etomidate. And also, we have interactive drama programs and also Beat Drugs with Sports program and other programs. In short, we want to reach more students through interesting programs and enhance their awareness against drugs. So besides secondary students, we are also concerned about the well-being of university students. So we've been working with the tertiary education sector to organize workshops and seminars to educate undergraduates on the harmfulness of drugs. We are also adjusting the contents of our programs in a timely manner. So besides preventive education and publicity, another important area of our work is drug treatment and rehabilitation services. Now, unfortunately, some people have fallen victim to drug addiction, so we have a series of drug treatment programs, including voluntary residential drug treatment programs. There are also small group counseling sessions as well as professional training, occupational training. And also we have counseling centers for psychotropic substance abusers and Center for Drug Counseling. And also through the 18 methadone clinics and the 9 substance abuse clinics, we are providing treatment as well as psychological support for those in need. And the 4 drug addiction treatment centers under the CSD provides rehabilitation programs for drug addicts.
Next, turning to the funds, that is BDF, we have the Beat Drugs Fund. We'd like to cover more projects and themes covering different topics so the different sectors in Hong Kong will take part in drugs-related research. For instance, we have covered how to prevent young people from getting their hands at etomidate, cannabis, ice. How do they affect the mental state of young people? These research-based outcomes will support our drugs combating work. Next, I'd like to turn to cooperation. Drugs issues knows no boundaries. That's why it's important to work with other jurisdictions in order to clamp down on drugs. Last year, Hong Kong attended the annual sections on the UN CND as a Chinese delegation. We introduced different measures in order to support global efforts in this regard. On combating drugs, we work together with the Customs and Excise Department as well as the Hong Kong Police Force to undertake more research. They have set up a well-rounded network. They exchange information on the latest information in this regard. They also exchange intelligence in order to clamp down on drugs-related activities. Lastly, on legislation and enforcement, the situation of drugs changes very frequently. We need to update our legislation in order to handle drugs-related activities in an effective manner. We need to consider international regulatory requirements, the use and harmful effects of drugs, as well as the abuse of drugs in Hong Kong and overseas jurisdictions. We need to classify psychotropic substances and dangerous drugs into the DDO. On enforcement in 2025, we seized 11,200 kgs of major drugs, covering different types of drugs, such as ice. There was a year-on-year increase of 9%. We focused our efforts on combating etomidate. So after bringing etomidate under control, we have intercepted a total of 1.46 million substances in relation to etomidate, we have arrested 1,413 people. They were involved in a total of 1,148 cases. We will intercept etomidate based on intelligence as source. I'd like to turn to our legislative proposals. This March, we attended a meeting and we have brought under control the 3 substances on the screen under control. We have acted swiftly. We have consulted relevant stakeholders, including the industry as well as the Action Committee Against Narcotics, that is ACAN. We aim to amend Part 1 of the first schedule to the DDO. You can see 3 substances on the screen. The first 2 have to do with opium, and the third has to do with cannabis. There is no case of abuse in Hong Kong in relation to these substances as yet, but we want to discharge our international obligation, and we also want to better protect citizens in Hong Kong. We hope the panel on security can support our legislative proposal. We will closely monitor the abuse of drugs in Hong Kong. We'll continue with our anti-drugs efforts in order to build a drug-free Hong Kong. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wen. It's time for members to speak. We have Dr. Thomas So, Mr. Ken Wong, Mr. Lau Ka-keung, Ms. Elizabeth Kwok, Mr. Gary Chen, Mr. Chen Cho-kwong, Mr. Dennis Leung, Mr. Eric Yim, and Ms. Carmen Kan. 9 members in total, 4 minutes each, questions and answers included. Let's start with Dr. Thomas So. Thank you. Combating drugs is a Herculean task. It's not easy at all. In paragraph 31 of the information papers, in 2025, 11,200 kilograms of 5 major drugs were seized, a year-on-year increase of 9% comparing with 2024. I'd like to know the main reason for the increase. Is it because of enhanced enforcement capability, or does it reflect the fact that more drugs have been imported into Hong Kong or infiltrated into Hong Kong? Etomidate is the prevalent drug among young people. I'd like to know from which country etomidate was brought into Hong Kong. We need to adopt an approach to intercept the importation of etomidate as source. Paragraph 33 of the papers mentioned external collaboration. Regarding 9+2 cities as mentioned in paragraph 13, the GBA covers 3 jurisdictions. I'd like to know whether there is any mechanism on combating drugs. Are there any exchanges? Are there any activities in which combat drugs? Thank you. Regarding the amount of drugs seized in 2025, indeed, there's been an increase comparing with 2024. This shows the rigorous efforts of the administration to combat drugs. I can ask the CNED and the police force to give you more information about this. Regarding interception, I'd like to ask the CNED to give you more information in detail in a moment. They can share with you which countries these drugs were brought into Hong Kong. We have enhanced collaboration with the GBA. We had a summit last year. Intelligence, experience sharing, tip-off exchange. We have been collaborating with different GBA units and we have formulated a well-rounded framework. We have established a regular liaison mechanism. They have frequent exchanges when it comes to their day-to-day operation. I'd like to ask the police to give you more information. Thank you. Mr. Ng, Chief Superintendent of Police. Thank you. The police has been working with different units, both outside Hong Kong and those in the Chinese mainland. 2025 was no exception. We have been enhancing our joint operations. This is why we have seen an increase in the amount of drugs seized. These figures fluctuate from year to year. In my opinion, 9% is within the reasonable range. Thank you. Mr. Zhang from the CNED. Thank you. The member asked about the source of etomidate. Etomidate is a type of synthetic drug. Any country can manufacture such drugs. Whenever we intercept these drugs, we will be on high alert. We have been seeing higher figures in India and in the Middle East regions. We will also plan strategically according to the trends of drugs. Thank you. Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you. In 2025, there was an increase of 27% in relation to the number of persons arrested for drug offenses. The number of young arrestees aged under 21 increased by even 90%. Among these cases, etomidate, cannabis, and cocaine were the main drugs involved. I'd like to know the concrete arrangements when it comes to tracking and follow-up mechanism for these young arrestees. The ND, that is Narcotics Division, has been working with the education sector. In 2026 to 27 academic year, a total of 305 schools were involved in the Healthy School program, attracting the participation of 157 schools. This is indeed very good, as we can see an increase in the number of schools. How can you ensure fair distribution among all the schools in Hong Kong? What about those that are in remote areas? How can you gauge the effectiveness of these anti-drug education? Is there any unified standard? Thank you. Ms. Wen, regarding drug offenses in relation to young arrestees for those below the age of 21. In 2023, the figure stood at 7.5%. We have been thinking of ways to help these young people in order that they will turn over a new leaf. In some court cases, there were probation orders based on the court's decision, with supervision and monitoring under probation orders. These arrestees will be under the supervision of DATC or treatment. CST will also arrange for small groups to provide psychological support and counseling. The CST will practice a year of statutory supervision or monitoring in order to help them with rehabilitation. Different types of support such as family ties, education are supported. The SWD also provides probation services, and the scheme has extended the upper limit of the age to 25 or below. Home visits, different activities are arranged. An example is more frequent urine test. The purpose is to help them to rehabilitate into society as soon as possible. Regarding HSP, over half of the secondary schools in Hong Kong are taking part in this scheme on a voluntary basis. The Narcotics Division is seeing an increase in the number of such schools. We'll continue to liaise with schools in order to encourage them to take part in our HSP. Through voluntary testing and more diversified anti-drug activities, we want to be in touch with even more young people. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Lau Ka-keung. Thank you, Chairman. Paragraph 4 of the paper stated that between 2016 and 2025, the number of reported abuses dropped by 38%. The figure shows the great achievement of the Narcotics Division and the government as a whole. We support the five-pronged approach adopted by the government. Now, my questions are, first of all, paragraph 5 says that among the reported young drug abusers aged under 21, etomidate replaced cannabis to become the most common drug abuse in 2025. So what are the measures adopted to tackle this trend, and how effective are they? And also, drug trafficking activities take place online, and many young people have procured drugs from the internet. So will the government enhance collaboration with schools and parents to combat this trend? Now, additional resources have been allocated to support the rehabilitation of drug-abusing parents. And there are figures showing that parents who are drug abusers themselves may cause their children to become drug abusers in the future. So will there be more prevention programs and targeted programs to support these families to prevent cross-generational drug abuse? Commissioner, thank you. Etomidate has become the prevalent drugs among young people, and this is a trend of concern. So we have adopted a multi-pronged approach to combat the prevalence of etomidate. In terms of legislation, in February last year, the government has swiftly legislated to regulate etomidates and free analogs so as to stop the prevalence from the source. In terms of law enforcement, all law enforcement agencies have been actively combating etomidates-related crimes. Now, last year, our law enforcement agencies have seized materials capable of producing some 11,000 kilograms of etomidate cartridges. And we have adopted publicity online and offline to spread the message about the harm of etomidate. Now, earlier on, we have mounted a publicity campaign to alert the public to the harm of etomidate through its zombie-themed advertisement campaign. Now, this year, we have turned to a more positive approach by appointing the honorary anti-drug ambassador, Mr. Aaron Kwok, to show our determination to combat etomidate. Now, we have collected statistics on our publicity campaigns to survey the receptiveness of the public as well as the effectiveness of our publicity campaign. Thank you. Concerning intergenerational drug abuses, is there any response? Concerning intergenerational drug abuse, we are aware of this issue. So, in the policy address, the Chief Executive mentioned that additional resources will be allocated to support the rehabilitation of drug abusers who are parents. We have provided additional support to pregnant women and parents who are also drug abusers. Next, Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. Now, anti-drug work has always been challenging, so I support the government's efforts. I know that you have resorted to different methods in spreading the message. However, criminals are still able to reach out to children and young people, especially through cyber technologies. So it is very important to enhance the government's cyber capability. For example, more online patrol or conducting more analysis through AI and big data. Now, social media platforms and websites that young people frequently visit may not have been targeted by the government. So the government should conduct studies on the websites frequently visited by young people, as well as the time of the day when young people visit these websites to conduct patrol. Now, we have received calls for assistance from parents who suspect that their children are taking etomidate. They have been helpless and they don't know what to do. Now, these parents are not aware of the 24-hour hotline of the Narcotics Division, so they approached us. There are also assistance hotline run by other NGOs, but many parents don't know about them. And most people would prefer using social media platform rather than making a call. So can you educate parents better on what they can do if they found out that the children have been taking drugs? They don't want to call the police and have their children arrested. At the same time, they are not aware of the drug counseling centers in Hong Kong, and even if they do, they don't know which one is suitable for their children. Ms. Wan. Thank you. That's a good point. Many parents are worried about their children and whether they are taking drugs. Now, as I said, we have the Jockey Club Drug Info Center. If parents would like to know more about drug information, please approach the Jockey Club Drug Info Center. And we do have a 24-hour hotline. That's 186 186 and also 98 186 186, both on WeChat and WhatsApp. Parents may approach professional social workers through these hotlines on whether we can reach out to targeted audience to spread the anti-drug message. For example, young people. Many young people are also mobile phone gamers. So we have been reaching out to young people through social media platforms as well as party rooms. So through visiting these websites and even physical party rooms, we can reach these young people. Now, concerning online patrol, I will defer to my colleague from the police force. Mr. Ng Kwok Cheung. Concerning criminals who sell drugs through social media platform and the internet, besides taking intelligence-led law enforcement action, we also gather information online as well as conduct undercover operations to combat online drug trafficking activities. We will also request social media platform operators to close the relevant accounts. Now, over the past year, we've arrested 432 people, including 69 young people, for the relevant crimes. We have seized some 850 kilograms of drugs of different kinds. Next, Mr. Gary Chen. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, the Commissioner, as well as Mr. the Chief Superintendent, have highlighted the prevalence of online drug trafficking. Criminals use cryptocurrencies and cyber technologies to smuggle drugs. So I think the police force as well as the CNED have to resort to technologies in order to combat drug trafficking. Say, for example, some young people procure drugs not because they saw an advertisement on Facebook. The communication would be conducted through emojis or secret codes. Now, these may escape the police cyber patrol, but I think the Commissioner is well aware of these trends. So maybe it is wise to use AI and big data technologies to capture these new trends, as well as the secret codes and the transaction methods of drugs. That's how we can catch the criminals, as well as learn about the model of operation. So I urge the Commissioner as well as the police force to do better on this front. Ms. Wan, I thank the member for his suggestion. We fully agree. The world is getting more and more complicated. There are more and more cross-boundary and cross-regional drug trafficking activities. So the law enforcement agencies have been using technologies to identify new trends in drug trafficking. The police force has been deploying technologies to assist the investigation. On the other hand, the CNED has been adopting the smart custom technology to help them better tackle smuggling activities. May I defer to the two forces for more information? Mr. Kwok-Chung. We are now working with several technology companies to identify AI technologies. We can automatically detect hidden messages involving drug trafficking. We're now selecting products which suit our context, so we'll continue to identify new technologies to combat drug. Mr. Chang Man-Kit from the CNED. Thank you, Chairman. The CNED would analyze custom clearance data for law enforcement actions. We would gather intelligence to identify new trends in cross-boundary drug trafficking, and we would conduct targeted actions on high-risk goods.
Next, Mr. Chen Chou-Kwong. Thank you, Chairman. In paragraph 4 of the information papers, there's a drop of 5% for young drug abusers aged under 21. However, it is also mentioned that the number of young arrestees aged below 21 increased by 90%. I'd like to know the difference between these two figures. I can see a decrease and a surge. Next, regarding etomidate, as we understand, e-cigarettes have been banned. Is it possible for some to use other vehicles to take etomidate? What strategies do law enforcement agencies to assess the situation? There are 400 secondary schools in Hong Kong. However, only 305 secondary schools that have taken part in the HSP. Is it possible to cover the remaining 95? Are the remaining 95 having the most serious problems, and is this the very reason why they do not take part in the scheme? Thank you. Mr. Wen, regarding the HSP, we can see a surge in the number of secondary schools taking part in this scheme. Now, over half of the schools have taken part in this scheme. But we need to respect the schools. They have their own circumstances. They have a different student population. But we haven't yet given up on these schools. We are reaching out to these schools and school sponsoring bodies to encourage them to take part in our schemes. Regarding e-cigarettes, as member mentioned, on the 30th of April 2026, we have passed legislation to regulate e-cigarettes, and the penalty will hinge on total quantities. This is very effective towards clamping down on etomidate. This is actually one of the ways to take etomidate, and we believe this piece of legislation will help us combat etomidate. This piece of legislation has taken effect for just 1 month, and we need more time to observe the situation. We will keep the situation in view in order to consider follow-up actions regarding intelligence. Any follow-up? Number of people, convictions, they are a little bit different. When we identify someone who has taken the drugs, convictions depend on the merits of the cases before a case can be convicted. In our database, there is some very important information. We need to take into account the trends of taking drugs as well as the habits of drug abusers. Mr. Chen, I don't quite understand. We can see two figures, one a drop, one an increase. I don't really understand the explanation provided by you just now. Intelligence shows that there is a drop in the number of young people by 5%. However, for etomidate, there's a surge of 90%. Any follow-up by Ms. Wen? Well, simply put, overall, the number of young people, of young drug abusers, has decreased. But these figures aren't directly related, as the convictions actually depend on different factors. Thank you, Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. I support bringing the 3 substances under control as dangerous drugs. The first 2 have to do with opium, and the third has to do with cannabis. On the 30th of April, alternative smoking products have been regulated. They cannot be possessed in public places, as this has been outlawed. I'd like to know how many manpower resources have been deployed in order to clamp down on these acts. Actually, not just for young people. I'd like to know how to help young people to keep etomidate at bay. We need to help them to stay clear of these drugs. Many of these products are manufactured in the Chinese mainland. Are there any inspections or interceptions How can we further intercept these products? It is all too convenient for young people to buy these products in Hong Kong. In the future, there will be vessels or ships coming to Hong Kong from north. Is it possible that such dangerous drugs will be imported into Hong Kong as a result? Thank you, Ms. Wen. As we mentioned just now, the new legislation took effect on the 30th of April 2026. The Department of Health is responsible for exercising this legislation. The DOH is the main law enforcement agency. However, the CNED and the police force help intercept such alternative smoking products, and we help to intercept these products and prevent them from entering Hong Kong. This piece of legislation has been in effect for just 1 month, and we will review the situation and the policy and make adjustments as appropriate. Regarding suspected infiltration of such dangerous drugs into Hong Kong, I'd like to invite the CNAD to give you more information about this area. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Thank you, Chairman. E-platforms or e-commerce platforms are mainly involved. The CNED has been maintaining liaison with major stakeholders in the industry. We have signed MOUs with large-scale e-commerce companies. The aim is to let them know the latest laws and legislation that are in practice in Hong Kong. There are certain products that cannot be imported into Hong Kong in accordance with law. Regarding vessels coming to Hong Kong from north, member would like to know what actions will be taken when it comes to inspections. I'd like to ask Mr. Chang to give you more information. When there are vessels coming to Hong Kong from north, under the CNED, we have a specialized division to be responsible for this type of law enforcement actions. Our team has a regular mechanism to take law enforcement actions. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's 4:23 right now. 2 members are waiting to speak. Let me extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Ms. Carmen Can, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. In the information papers and the PowerPoint presentation delivered by the Commissioner, we will draw up strategies to gauge the effectiveness of our policies. I'd like to echo Mr. Chan's point. On page 19 of the PPT, etomidate has been outlawed, and I'd like to recognize efforts of the CNED. A total of 1.46 million of substances concerning etomidate have been seized. There were a total of 1,148 cases covering 1,413 arrestees. I'd like to turn your attention to Annex A of the information papers. The key statistics are from the Central Registry of Drug Abuse. There were only 615 cases concerning etomidate. That is an increase of 99%. That is indeed a surge. ACAN, or the Narcotics Division, will base the figures I just now mentioned to draw up law enforcement plans. Now you have a good understanding of the trends. Well, I mean, the key statistics provided by the central registry may not help us to formulate effective strategies. The figures are from the DH. However, law enforcement actions are passive. The person involved may not make a report. That is why I suggest drawing reference from the figures provided by law enforcement agencies. On the 30th of April, the legislation has taken effect. We can see that TACO has inspected a total of 3,000 times, and there have been 40 or so penalty tickets issued. These are alternative smoking products involving etomidate. When TACO has identified these situations, will they pass the cases to the police force, or will TACO take law enforcement actions? I'd like to know how we can make better use of these figures. Thank you, Ms. Wan. Member is very clear about the situation. The Central Registry of the government provides sources of these statistics, but actually CRDA is but one of the sources. It is based on voluntary reporting. Therefore, it contains cases submitted by voluntary reporters. Simply put, we can only identify the trends of drug abuse as well as the drug abuser demographics. This is exactly why we do not just rely on the Central Registry of Drug Abuse. We consult law enforcement agencies such as police force and the CNED. Every 3 years, we conduct a study on students taking drugs. We also rely on information provided by community organizations and social welfare organizations to have a better understanding of drug abuse in society. Ms. Kan, I'm glad to hear about this. TACO needs to take joint departmental actions in order to clamp down on drugs. You should draw reference from law enforcement agencies instead of just relying on information submitted voluntarily. Otherwise, members will focus too much on voluntarily submitted information. This is how we gauge the effectiveness of your actions. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Thank you. I'm concerned about young drug abusers. Just now, members refer to the HSP. A total of 305 secondary schools that have taken part in the scheme. It's been implemented since 2021. We can see a total of 513 secondary schools in Hong Kong, and 200 of secondary schools in Hong Kong have not yet joined this scheme. How can you very comprehensively assess the trends of drug abuse? Just 60% or so of secondary schools in Hong Kong have taken part in the scheme, and you are not mandating all schools in Hong Kong to join the scheme. So far, 305 schools have joined the scheme, and do you have any figures to help you gauge the abuse of etomidate in Hong Kong? 1,413 people were arrested. Etomidate has been brought under the control of dangerous drugs. Do you have any further breakdown on these figures, such as drug traffickers or those consuming drugs? Do you have the age distribution? Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you, member, for your question. Generally speaking, the objective of the Healthy School program is to enhance students' resilience against drugs and strengthen their determination against drugs and build a drug-free campus culture. Now, the number of schools participating in the program is on the rise. We will continue to encourage school sponsoring bodies to enlist the schools in the program. Now, the main objective is not to test and find drug abuses in schools. If cases are indeed identified through the program, we will deal with the cases in anonymity, and we will refer the students and parents to drug counseling centers for support. That's the goal of the Healthy School project. Now, concerning the breakdown of arrestees, I would defer to the police force. Mr. Ng. Now, this is the police figure. Last year, 1,191 persons have been arrested for Itomida's crimes. Among them, 213 of them are under the age of 21. 90% of the arrestees were caught for possession of Itomida's. That is a more minor offense. Concerning trafficking or manufacturing of the drug, they accounted for 10% of the arrestees. Any follow-up question, Mr. Perry? Thank you, Chairman. Still on the Healthy School project. Now, in the past, the Narcotics Division has been working closely with schools to promote the anti-drug message to help students stay away from drugs. However, from the perspective of parents, what do they think about schools who opted out of the program? Ms. Wan, when schools decide whether to join the program or not, there are a lot of considerations. There is the vision of the sponsoring bodies and also the characteristics of the schools. And also the Parents-Teacher Association also has a say in the matter. Now, there are some schools which are still hesitating because they are worried about the stigmatizing effect. But there are changes. With more and more schools joining the program, the stigmatizing effect is no longer there. Thank you, Ms. Wang. Any other members who would like to speak? Ms. Carmen Kan, second round. Thank you, Chairman. A follow-up question. Now we are discussing the subsidiary legislative proposal. Now there are 3 substances that we are adding to Part 1 of the first schedule of the Dangerous Drugs Ordinance, CAP 134. So far, none of these substances have been found in Hong Kong, and over the past 5 years, there is no record of imports or exports of these substances. So, in the country's context, are these 3 substances subject to regulation for dangerous goods? And what about other countries in East Asia? Are they also prohibited substances? Now, please give me the information if you don't have them now. Now, my concern is if other countries have not prohibited these substances, there is a high chance that these substances would come into Hong Kong from those countries. Thank you. Now, these 3 substances have been classified as dangerous drugs according to the United Nations, UNCND, and also the World Health Organization has also suggested that we should classify them as dangerous drugs. Now, we don't have the information at hand. We will supplement this information after the meeting. Thank you, Chairman. No other questions? I have some questions too. Now, the Healthy School project. Some schools joined, some did not. I think there is a website showing which schools have joined. Is not? Thank you, Chairman, for your question. Yes, on our website, there is a list of participating schools. So parents and the public can have access to that. How often do you update that list? We extend invitation every year, so we will update the list every year. The number of participating schools differ from year to year. Thank you. Now, according to the three substances in the proposal, you said the trade has been consulted. So who have you consulted? Now, besides the Action Committee against narcotics, we have consulted the views of the import and export sector and the medical health sector. Now, synthetic opioids are not registered for any medical purposes in Hong Kong. You may also consider consulting the Chambers of Commerce of the pharmaceutical trade and also the Chamber of Commerce of the relevant drugs. I don't think that would be a great problem since the WHO is also banning the drugs, but we have to be sure. Now, concerning drug abusers, many of them use electronic cigarettes to inhale dangerous drugs. Now, of course, if you are in possession of e-cartridges on the streets, you'll be caught. However, that's not the case for private premises, including private party rooms. So is that a loophole? The police? Yes, may I defer to the police? Party room is a private premise. For those in possession of e-cartridges, we cannot enforce the law under the new legislation. However, if the person is in possession of spacol, that's a powder poison, so we can enforce the law. In other words, if someone is in possession of e-cartridges in party room, a private premise, you are unable to enforce the law. But if they are in possession of spacol, etomidate, that is prohibited, so you can still enforce the law. But how can you gain access into party rooms since there are private premises? And do you have a list of the party rooms in Hong Kong? Each police district has an index of the party rooms in the relevant district. Usually, these party rooms would advertise their business online. So our colleagues would conduct cyber patrol for intelligence. Of course, many a time, these party rooms are a legitimate business. It's just that the clients use the party rooms for smoking space oil. Then we can only act on intelligence. Now, the users of party rooms are different on a night-to-night basis. So these are well-hidden premises. So I'm just wondering, how do you conduct inspection on these party rooms? They are unlike bars where you can just enter on your own will. So these may be gray areas. So I hope the police would be more alert to party rooms. You have to come up with a better solution to combat drug abuse in these venues. That's my personal views. So, colleagues, concerning the three substances that the government proposed to make part of the part 1 of the first schedule of the DDO, I don't think there is any objection. That concludes this item. Is there any other business? There being none, today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you.